Welcome back to another episode of the Carbon Cardboard Podcast, covering the Formula One card hobby. In today's daytime episode, we're going to be covering our grid gainer from the Austrian Grand Prix, talk about our pick'em for Silverstone, and finally wrapping up with Scott, your P1 Castle calls and what
That's
to
right.
from a special 4th of July episode here. America.
That's right. 4th of July. A little ironic that it's Silverstone Grand Prix weekend, given the history of 4th of July. But it's a great racing weekend. I'm excited for it. Also, FP2 is about to start. But I will say, really cool. Just want to mention this at the top of the show. And maybe this is something that we'll start doing more often, but just kind of like hobby news. Really cool hobby news stuff going on right now. Silverstone. So there's a few folks over there. I know Grid Cards UK I think I've seen Hammond Hobbies. But so they're at Silverstone this weekend. And Topps has not only like a booth, but they have a little studio where they're like opening cards. And I think some of them are on Fanatics Live UK, some of them on Whatnot UK. They're ripping the brand new TurboTax from 2025. So really cool. I'm not super into TurboTax, but very cool that just in general stuff like that is happening with Topps and more folks in the community. So really hope we can see more events like that. And who knows, maybe we can get a driver involved. So yeah, really cool stuff. Just wanted to touch on that top of the show.
Speaking of TurboTax, we don't really cover that on this show. I know our own F1 Ben is very ecstatic that one Mr. Jack, how you doing, is in that set.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see whether he's in Chrome, whether he's in Finest, all the other sets, because TurboTax obviously early release. You know, it's July. I don't think the product is actually out quite yet, but it will be coming out shortly. And you know, maybe that's the first one where they didn't have enough time to, you know, change him to Janko Kalapuan. But we'll have to see what happens for the other sets that get released later in the year.
Yeah, they do have a place. I know we have a few people that send in some of those CADs to P1 Castle grading. I know JCC Cruise, or too many C's there. Sorry, Justin. But
JCCCCC Cruise.
Oh yeah, there's the extra C for extra awesomeness. We just had a PSA 10 pop for one of the Lewis Hamilton cards that he had. I will say though, there's some really cool inserts and stuff. Usually with like, I know you're big, Scott, on the flags and the background. That's one of the things that set does really well. So a nice new PSA 10 Lewis Hamilton TurboTax coming to our friend Justin here. So
yeah, TurboTax are actually the first F1 cards that I found, because they had put them. They were like on the F1 website. Because again, I came to this hobby from, you know, I collected baseball, basketball, whatever as a kid, but I came to this hobby from Formula One, not from cards. So I was on the F1 website app every single day. And one time I saw, oh, what is this? Cards? Sure, let's go. And I got some cards. I played the game. I don't know if you've ever played the game TurboTax. It's a game. But played the game. Yeah. Wild times.
All right. Speaking of playing a game, let's play a game of grid gainers. And the community pick for our grid gainer from the Austrian Grand Prix. Obviously, now we're getting ready for Silverstone. FP2 is about to start. But we did need to talk, Scott, about our boy, Gabriel Bortoleto.
Gabriel Bortoleto. So, of course, Gabriel Bortoleto had his best finish of his career in Austria, finished P8, also qualified in 8th. So, really good job by Gabriel Bortoleto. First time he's ever scored points. And not only was he voted as, you know, the driver of the day grid gainer in Legends chat, but he was also voted driver of the day in real life in Formula One. all the fans voted him driver of the day. So really good performance by him. Started off with an amazing qualifying. Of course, got that got that toe from Verstappen, but yeah, did a really good job in the race, and it's really cool to see because I think when you come in as a rookie, you're someone like Kimi Antonelli. You're in a Mercedes. You're in a car that is gonna be in the points almost every race, unless you dive down the inside and take out Max on turn 3, lap 1. It's gonna be on the podium every now and then, like he got in Canada. But if you're in a stake, you can be doing really, really well. And if your car's at the back of the field, it's hard to show it. So really good to see, stake 8 taking a bit of a step forward, but then also Bortoleto taking advantage of that and coming into his own. So just wanted to lead off with that. In terms of cards you can acquire for Gabriel Bortoleto, of course, we only have 1 year. We only have 2024. So you're limited to kind of all of the 2024 products, of course, not including Dynasty, because there's no F2 in that. It is going to be his first appearance, his Future Stars card, and that's going to be the one you want. You probably want to stay away from the car cards. I don't think those are going to be extremely popular. So I went Sapphire. I went with the Sapphire route for my picks here. I took Aqua Portrait at a 99 from Sapphire of Gabriel Bortoleto. Right now, Pop 0. PSA 10, Pop 0. I think that's what that means. Pop 10 equals 0. I think that means PSA 10, Pop 0. So yeah, there are no PSA 10s. So what that means is maybe you've got some good looking copies of his Aqua, might not be a bad idea to get it graded. Because again, a lot of times when you see good results, like if he gets another points finish or somehow sneaks out a podium, etc., people are going to want to go to like, okay, what's quick that I can grab? And this is a card that isn't going to break the budget. Even if it comes back a 9, that's still great. And then my grail that I have here is, of course, a card that we have on premium consignment. Although I will say there's a lot of interest in this card. I don't think we're gonna have it for long, because after his last weekend, ton of interest is coming in. This is the Pad Paraja autograph, 1 of 1 of Gabriel Bortoleto from Sapphire. It's graded already by PSA, a PSA 8. So that's one of his grails for sure. And yeah, got the target of an Aqua card. And now, Brian, what do you have for us? What are your picks?
Before Scott, I get to my stuff, just for newer listeners or people that may not be as familiar with Bortoleto, like, not only did he have a good result, but like, why should we really kind of start to gravitate towards him? I mean, even just a little bit of a background here. I mean,
Let's hear
obviously,
it.
the like Brazilian driver. I mean, what else has he done up to this point, Scott?
What else has he done? Oh, he's just messed around and won Formula 3 championship as a rookie, won the Formula 2 championship as a rookie. Pretty good. Pretty good. The last person that did that is currently winning the world championship.
Pretty good.
Just
And I mean, he's also managed by a fellow rookie as well.
That's right. Yeah, fellow rookie Fernando Alonso, right? His mentor. It was really cool seeing him actually, Alonso went over to Bortoleto after the race and kind of gave him a big hug. It was like the expectant father, was sitting there. He's like, "Oh, give me a hug." Yeah. I will say and they did some of it this past weekend. It's interesting when they're on track next to each other because that there is that relationship. You got to think, do they race each other differently? Or, is Bortoleto giving it his all because he wants, he wants to surpass the master? Is that an Alonso, treating him even harder? I don't know. It's really cool to see. It's a cool dynamic. It's definitely a, the master and the apprentice type relationship. And yeah, really cool that he's taken him under his wing. And he's become part of Alonso's team.
All right. Thanks for that, Scott. So I went very similar on one aspect. I did find a PSA 10 sticking with 2024 Topps Chrome Sapphire. The base Sapphire card is currently only a Pop 2. So again,
Wow.
I'll make the same plea that you did. If you have well-centered copies of this card without surface issues, without back indents, without dinged corners. Look at getting these in, because again, when you have cards that are not plentifully available, but these are what we talk about when we were talking about these liquid cards. The best grade you can get is PSA 10, and the quantity being there means that you'll be able to move them quicker. Now, like you said, with the pad that you have available, there's only one in the world, and that means that there's going to be a lot of competition for cards like that. So that's kind of where we have that delineation here. I went a slightly different path, and I went for Bortoleto's first state card as a rookie with a rookie card stamp, 1 of 1 foil fractor from the set that we recently have talked about on prior episodes from Fanatics Fest NYC. This looks really awesome. I love the pose. I like, my flow chart, Scott, goes, if there's a helmet involved with a card, that definitely tops the charts for me. But I love like the double fist pumping pose. Like you get a lot of those. They had Finest recent set that had out there. A lot of the rare parallels all had similar poses like that for like the F2 drivers. But yeah, no, this is great. And again, there's only so many of these foil. There's very few of these foil fractors that were from this set. So again, very desirable card for Bortoleto fans.
Yeah, no, that's an awesome grail. And like you said, I think at this point, the only other rookie cards of Bortoleto at all that we've seen are, a Topps Now or the ones from, the Miami race, and there's no parallels for that. So yeah, I mean, this is an amazing card. I think in general, this is above like the Topps Now tier, right? I would expect this card to sell for significantly more than the 1 of 1 Topps Now Bortoleto from his first race. Even though they both have rookie card stamps, they're both foil fractors, etc. I still think, the portrait pose generally does better. And, just in general, I think cards that you're pulling out of a pack usually outsell Topps Now stuff, unless it's extremely significant. And yeah, first race is significant, but I just don't think that. I think if they both went to auction, this one ends up outselling it. But yeah, really cool card. Excited to see his new stuff in chrome. I'm also curious whether these pictures from Fanatics Fest cards are going to be seen again in chrome.
100% they are again.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if this is maybe his like the chrome portrait for this show.
Right. And that's the thing is like, will it be just a straight 1-to-1 portrait, or is this going to be seen in like a Finest as one of the images? You always have to wonder. I wonder how many images you think they take. How many pictures do you think they take? It's got to be at least like 40 plus. Hundreds.
I bet you they're just snapping away and just take the best ones.
Yeah. Just do whatever.
I'll make a prediction, Scott. I feel like we're going to see this pose again, and I have no prior knowledge. There's no NDAs or anything here involving me. This is just a pure prediction on the show here. I think, Scott, we're going to see this photo again on his 2025 Topps Chrome freshest card.
Oh, okay. Freshest. This looks like a freshest picture. I'll also say, random aside, if this is the size of the image, so like next to each other, if you're looking at the screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see the 2024 Bortoleto portrait and then this new 2025 Fanatics Fest. I hope this is the size in the frame that we're going to get for the drivers, because this is very reminiscent of like a 2020. I think like them being a little bit bigger and not showing like whole body, I actually really like, and I think collectors like it as well. Them kind of taking up more of the frame. So yeah, I like your prediction, Brian. I like it.
Well, let's see about that. And while we're sticking on the predictions, let's take a look at the matchups this weekend for the 2025 British Grand Prix at Silverstone. Confidence Pick'em Challenge. Get your picks ready and get your chance to win $100 and brake credit from the P1 Castle.
That's right. Yeah, it's funny because I actually put these matchups. I always put the matchups together, a week or so in advance. And I put these together last week, and I'm thinking like, ooh, wow, yeah, British Grand Prix would be cool to have. We've got Lando against Hamilton. Obviously two
Wow.
British drivers right up there at the top. Especially if you saw FP1. Spoiler alert, real quick. If you saw FP1, Lewis Hamilton topped the session. He's known to go well at Silverstone. So that one could actually get spicy. Lando against Lewis. Then I had the championship leader Oscar against George Russell. And this one was just kind of spicy because they're up towards the front, but now it's way more spicy. It's Max Verstappen against Kimi Antonelli. And after last week in Austria, Kimi just taking Max out. I mean, oh man, I don't know. I mean, Max was really nice about it, but pretty fun to see those two against each other. Yuki Tsunoda and Liam Lawson going up against each other is also one I find very spicy since they've swapped spots. We have Charles Leclerc against Oliver Behrman. Behrman, another British driver. We have Alonso against Esteban Ocon, best of friends. We have Lance Stroll against Pierre Gasly. Alexander Albon against Gabriel Bortoleto. Carlos Sainz against Nico Hulkenberg. And Isaac Ajar against Franco Colapinto. So I think there's a nice mixture of matchups. I think some you'd think, okay, for sure, slam dunks, and some are going to be pretty spicy here. And so in that sequence, Brian, who is your 10? Who are you slamming down 10 points on looking at these matchups?
I think my 10, Scott, I'm going to go with Leclerc over Behrman.
Okay. Yep.
Just
Leclerc.
especially, I think Leclerc against spoiler. I think P4 in FP1, the Ferrari looks pretty good this weekend. And talent-wise, I mean, I mean, in my estimation, I don't think it's a really hot take or anything, but I feel like Leclerc is a much better driver than Behrman at this point. Obviously, again, Behrman, home race for him. There's a home race for a lot of the drivers on the grid.
That's right. That's right. Nice. I like it. And what about your one? What's a really close matchup and you're going to just edge a driver out?
This is, I'm cheating entirely here, but I mean, Lando against Hamilton, I think is going to be really
Who are you putting
spicy.
the one on? Who are you putting the one? Who gets the nod?
I'm going to give the one to Hamilton.
Oh,
I feel like
man.
Hamilton is just absolute cinema / magic / aura, whatever the young kids are saying these days, Scott. I feel like Hamilton just gets this track. And I think because Lando has made so many statements in media day and stuff about how he would trade all of his race wins just for one at Silverstone, I think he's almost heaping too much pressure on himself. And that's where I'm going there. So,
okay.
All right, Scott, your 10. Which one are you slamming down? Yep.
So my 10, I think, he didn't have an amazing race last weekend. I think he's going to have a good race this weekend. He's going to bounce back. I'm actually slamming my 10 on Isaac Hadjar. I think Hadjar is gonna roar back here in Silverstone. I also still think the V-Carb is a better car than the Alpine. So yeah, I'm taking Hadjar with my 10 over Colapinto. As for the one, there's a lot of spice. And I'm actually going to put my one on George Russell over Oscar Piastri. That probably is a hot take. I don't think a lot of people are going to do that. And maybe it's the British bias coming out from the Silverstone Grand Prix here. But I'm taking George Russell over Oscar Piastri on my picks, which is ironic because when you see my actual predictions, it's not what I'm doing. But it is what I'm doing in the moment. I've been swayed by the British bias, by wanting to see an all British podium. I think so many people, I've listened to so many podcasts where it's Lando, Russell, Lewis. Like that is probably the most common prediction I've seen for this weekend. Lando, Russell, Lewis. Although I feel like a lot of those people might change to Lando, Lewis, Russell, because Lewis looking pretty good, Ferrari looking pretty good. Which I tell you what, if Ferrari can look pretty good for the rest of the season and Lewis can be battling for wins, that would be nice.
Well, speaking of all those 5 British drivers
Well, it's interesting because like Albon, it's like, is he not? Is he? Because he actually flies the Thai flag.
Oh, that's
That's
true
what he
too. Yeah.
chooses. But he is, he grew up in the UK, so he counts for like half of one, is what I'll say.
All right. Well, semantics here. So let's talk about your predictions and your pole prediction.
Here we go. Pole prediction at the 2025 British Grand Prix. Lando Norris again. Last week we said Lando pole, Lando win. Guess what? Lando pole, Lando win. So we're going for it. We're going for Lando pole. Podium, I have Lando, Oscar, Hamilton. Maybe I should change this again and put Russell instead of Oscar, since apparently I'm picking Russell over Oscar. But no, I think realistically, this is kind of how I see things panning out in the race. I think the Ferrari does look good. I just think race pace, man. I feel like over the race distance, the McLarens are going to have it. I mean, they were so far ahead of everybody in Austria. So I really do see things kind of playing out like this, but you never know. You never know. A little British magic could strike here. But yeah, realistically, I see Lando, Oscar, Lewis. I do think Lewis is going to find his way on the podium. He always does. He always does find his way on the podium. And for my castle call, I've got all British drivers in the points, and you can even see a little nod to Albon in the back, kind of counting as one. So I'm gonna take it as a win as long as Lando, Hamilton, Russell, and Behrman are in the points. But if Albon's also in the points, then I get a bonus point. Then I get a +1 on top. But yeah, so I'm saying all British drivers in the points. I think the one that's really going to be tough there is Behrman, but I think he's got it. Home race here, Haas. Come on, let's go, Ollie.
All right. Let's before we wrap things up on a shorter episode. So let's bring it back to the cards here, Scott. So if this holds to form, if Lando is able to get his first win on home soil at Silverstone, and let's just say Oscar finishes second, that closes the gap. I just did some quick math here on jotting down. So apologies if I'm wrong, but if that holds serve, and that means that Piastri would enter the 2-week break here before Hungary at 234, Lando would be at 226, closing the gap from 15 to 8.
Yeah. 8
I mean,
points.
you're the one that is dealing with a lot of the high-end cards in the hobby. Are you seeing a rebound for the Lando Norris market here?
So I think so. I think actually we've already seen it. I mean, literally in the last week alone, we've seen it. Leading up to the Austrian Grand Prix, we had some decent Lando sales, but especially after the Austrian Grand Prix, Lando stuff has gone crazy. We just sold the rose gold Lando Norris helmet collection, 1 of 1, for $10,000. It's a lot. That's the same that the Oscar Superfractor helmet collection sold for. That's almost as much as the Max rose gold helmet collection sold for. So I think Lando is starting to rebound. I mean, listen, at the beginning of the season, heading into the season, Lando was the one that was really seeing the most hype, right? Like Lewis and Max have kind of always been at the top of prices, and Lando was that third. Leclerc had always been third because he's in that realm of him, Lando, Russell, Piastri, whatever, but he's Ferrari, and he gets the Ferrari premium. But then Lando surpassed Leclerc. Lando's values were consistently above Leclerc heading into the season and right at the beginning of the season, after the first race and when Lando's winning. And then it took Oscar to kind of come back at him, be winning all these races and beating him. And then Lando, not only did he fall below Oscar, but he also fell below Leclerc. I would put Lando as probably sitting at 5th in overall value, and Oscar catapulted himself up to 3rd ahead of Leclerc, and he was even getting really close to Max on some stuff. Because people want to be a part of the championship run, they want to be there. So I think a lot of the Lando fans are seeing a path now, whereas, especially after Canada, it was like, oh boy. But I think Lando fans are responding to the win in Austria. And this is what I said. I said this a couple weeks ago, right? I said, listen, if he wins in Austria and he wins in Silverstone, this was after Canada. I was like, listen, we've got a week off, and then he has Austria, Silverstone. If he takes this week, decompresses, gets his head right, gets the mental, and then he comes back, pole win Austria, pole win on home soil in Silverstone, and then he's right there with Oscar for the championship, then I think it's okay. Here we go. All bets are off. Lando fans are going to be back in. Lando card collectors are going to be back in. And I really think it's going to go, toe to toe. You're going to see Lando cards 2020, especially with his rookie stuff and some of the new cards that people are excited about. Those kind of cards are going to be moving. And then it's just going to, the championship battle is going to really sway a lot of that. If it stays close, I think both of their values be healthy. If one of them really picks up a lead, if Lando, starts blowing Oscar out, say he's up by 40 in 5 races from now, then, Oscar's prices will get hurt. Because I think a lot of Oscar's prices have really soared. 2023 Chrome. Can we just talk about it for a second? 2023 Chrome. When it first came out, distributor pricing, you could get cases around 2,100. Okay. I remember they put out their second wave at 2,400. That was a month or two after the product had been released. At that point, you could get them on the secondary market for under 2,000 on DealerNet, on Blowout, on all these different places. You could get them at 1,900, 2,000 flat, because there was so many printed. And Oscar's a great rookie, but he wasn't winning races, he wasn't beating Lando. So now that product has absolutely gone insane because everyone wants Oscar rookie cards. On Blowout last week, do you know what the price was? Okay, again, bear in mind that 2 months ago, a case of 2023 Chrome on Blowout was 2,600. 2,600 2 months ago. What was it last week? Just throw out a guess.
3,400.
3,800 last week. What is it right now?
42.
4,800.
Wow.
For one case, 4,800. That is $400 a box. Dave and Adams has none. They're buying it. Okay. People are going insane for Oscar Piastri stuff. The card sales, I will say, listen, at 400 a box, it's getting a little scary. But, we were selling them at $275, $300 a box the past few weeks. And Oscar purple portrait out of $399 PSA 10 sold for $450. Black white checker freshest PSA 10 sold for $150. As of 2 weeks ago, before Blowout jacked prices up, it was without a doubt the best EV. If you think about, okay, I want to sit down and I want to rip boxes to potentially make my money back or make money on it. What's the expected value? That without a doubt had the highest positive EV out of any product you could open. And now it's a little spicy with going up to 400 a box, but I still think it's a pretty good value. If you hit Oscars, grade them. I'm going to tell everybody this right now. A PSA 10 Speed Demons sold for $85. This stuff is, guys, there's free money probably sitting in everybody's dollar bins and everybody's just box somewhere in the back of their closet. Get those Oscars out. If they look good, send them in, because Everyone wants a piece. Everyone wants Oscar, and you can get a PSA 10. His base portraits, PSA 10, selling between 80 to 100 just for the base. Wild times. Wild times.
I will say, though, months ago, or not months ago, maybe the last month or two, I had at least 3 people send me all of their quote unquote bulk Oscar Piastri, one of them being you.
Yeah. I know another person too.
Yeah, and I will throw a little shade of caution on that.
Sure.
Don't just grade everything. Make sure it's well centered and all that other stuff, because I will say for everything that we did send, it was probably only about maybe a quarter of
Yeah.
what I looked at. So again, you don't want to be grading 8s and 9s. You will lose your money on that unless it's for PC. So
9s? I don't know. So yeah, 8 for sure. 9, I don't know, man. Look at the prices on some of these 9s. Like, I think 9, you're at least breaking even. But I do 100% agree with you. You want to send in cards that at least have a chance at a 10, right? Like, absolutely. If you get a 9, it's not the end of the world. But yeah, you definitely want to make sure you're submitting stuff that you think will gem or has a chance of gemming.
yeah, and there's no guarantees in life. I mean, even a recent bulk order that we sent in, I think it had something upwards of about 60 cards. I think we had about an 80% gem rate, which is unreal. I know people are always disappointed to get an 8 or a 9. It sometimes does happen, but overall, you're giving yourself better odds by sending in the right cards. So, wow,
Sure.
Scott, I thought we were gonna have like a 20-minute episode, and then both you and I
Honestly.
just started pontificating on, once we get talking about the cards, which is our true passion, talking.
That's right.
Obviously, we love Formula One, but the cards aspect of it, we have quite a bit of information and knowledge about this stuff. we can keep
2023
going.
Chrome, baby.
Oh, that is a good sight. So, all right, Scott, I think now is the time to let people go. We'll get this episode out on the 4th here at a different time, but I'll start to get working on getting this out to the Castleites, to the Formula One card hobby.
All 21 listeners. But yeah, I mean, everybody, make sure you get your pick'ems in. We got this out, in time to make sure to warn you, to advise you to get them in. Free chance at $100. Why not? But yeah, should be an exciting racing weekend. I'm going to go watch the rest of FP2. Hopefully you guys are also. In the meantime, guys, collect your cardboard and keep it carbon.